Hello and welcome to Onds Garden, and we're currently looking at the kitchen garden, and there's a big red splodge in the middle of the screen, and that red splodge is actually an Amaryllis plant, and it's the only colourful thing I've got in my kitchen. I think it helps occasionally just to have one thing of colour in your kitchen, just to draw your eye in, just to get you to walk in there and have a look around. So let's go and have a look and see what it looks like. As you can see, it's rather a large plant. In fact, that flower is so big, I think we need to measure it. And I'm probably going to measure it using the world standard measurement. Everybody knows, everybody can relate to this, because everybody's got a mug. And I'm going to have a cup of tea and measure it to the size of a mug, just so you know how big that flower is. So I'm not really much of a flowery person myself. I quite like the leaves, the green leaves, the textured leaves, the different shapes, the different sizes. This Amaryllis basically is just gorgeous. I mean, look at it. It's absolutely huge. And you can buy them in little pots about this big. In fact, this is the original pot it came with. And yeah, most of the year it just looks like this with the green leaves. But then, come Easter time, the whole stem shoots out of the pot and you get this massive flower at the top. So I've got my cup of tea, delish, and I'm going to measure how big it is, just to give you an idea. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5 cups of tea. That's how big it is. And the flower itself, just to give you an example, if I can hold the tea up without spilling it. Nice. Is about 1.5 cups. So you can see the actual gigantic size of this flower that came from a little tiny pot at the bottom. They don't take much looking after. You just give them a bit of water. Don't give them much water at all in the winter, but in the summer, and when it's starting to grow, you start to see these little shoots coming out the top. That's when you start watering it properly, and then you get this massive flower at the top. So I'm quite pleased with that. But yeah, like I say, I'm not really a flower person, but this one's pretty good. So we've got a few jobs to do today, and we're going to go outside. We've got some planting jobs to do, which is cool. New plants are always cool. So we're going to go outside, and I'm going to get the spade out and start digging a few holes. Got a few new plants to show you, and we'll dig a hole and we'll put the plant in. Simple as that. Now, if you're a regular to the channel, you might notice there's something missing off the table. That is the Philodendron imperial red, and it had a bit of spider mite, so I had to remove it outside and give it a shower. So it's currently taking in some sun, having some rays. And that's going to be quite happy out there while the sun's shining. So we're going to leave that out there and use this opportunity to grab that table space and talk about my eBay purchase. So what we're looking at here: bubble wrap, lots of it, and a couple of bags. Now, I've had these bulbs in a bag for a bit, and if you know Colocasias, you'll know that this is an actual type of Colocasia. And you can see that they're just greening up there, look. So having them in the bag with a bit of moisture has actually helped them grow. And because they're going green, I think they're ready now just to be stuck in the pot. So I've got some pots here. I'm going to drop them in there. So, allegedly, these corns are from the Thailand Giant Colocasia. Now, if that's true, they could get a whopping size. In fact, they could get up to 9 feet high and 5 feet for the actual leaf. So that's a gigantic plant. So what was I doing thinking of buying this? I've got no room for it, but it's a bit of fun, and I don't expect it to get that big because we're in the UK, and in the UK, it's not a tropical climate. However, just open this bubble wrap. I have seen somewhere that they actually can grow up to 20 feet in a tropical climate, so that's absolutely massive. Now this one here has been wrapped with a bit of tissue, a little bit of damp tissue. You can see the little roots pouring out the top there, so all the energy's in there. They aren't too big, these ones, so I'm expecting not too much from them, but I've already got some Colocasias, and I do enjoy having Colocasias because I love the big green leaves that they've got, so this should actually provide some of that greenery. Where I'm going to put it, that's another story, but yeah, hopefully these will grow. So they're all looking pretty good. They're all starting to get a green tip on them, so they're ready for planting. So what I'm going to do is just pop them in a bit of soil, probably about, I don't know, what would you say that was, probably twice the distance, so you could fit 2 in there, I would say, for the height. So I'm going to cover that in soil, just like so. And then I'm going to go and get some more soil from the shed in a minute and plant the rest up. So that's a bit of excitement. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing what happens with these. I'm not expecting a massive plant, like I say, but it's going to be good fun, and that's what it's all about. So I'm going to plant these up, and then I'm going to get on with some more jobs. Now this next plant that we've got to plant outside is actually a very nice plant. So if you know me, you know that I like Fatsias. I've got several Fatsias in the garden. I've propagated quite a few, and they look absolutely stunning with their leaf shapes that look like hands, palm leaf shapes. And yeah, so I've got this one to solve a problem. Basically, where I took out the big yellow Philodendron bamboo that was getting a bit crazy before, out the garden, it left a space. And one thing with a jungle garden is you don't want too much space. So I've got these, I've got 2 of these. First one I bought in a minute ago, but then I realised that there was ants everywhere, so they went all over the place, and I had to try and catch them and put them outside. That was my first problem, but this one is ant-free, so I can show you this one. I'm going to plant it outside. I'm going to plant it up next to the fence, and what it's going to do is it's going to grow like a Fatsia, but it's not a Fatsia. So this is a Fatsia Hedrahelix. I don't know, did I explain that? Probably not. So this is a cross between a Fatsia and a Hedrahelix. I think it is the English ivy. So English ivy of course grows up walls and things, and it's quite invasive and takes over. This, however, is, because it's a cross between the Fatsia and the ivy, means that it should literally bush out like a big bush. We're going to put it against the wall outside, against the fence, and we'll probably have to secure it if it gets too floppy, because it's not like the ivy, it doesn't actually stick onto things. And hopefully that's going to solve the problem of a big wide gap in the fence. So a couple of things you can do with fences. One, you can paint them, so you can paint them a dark colour. And what that's going to do basically is push push the fence into the background, so it's a lot further away. And that's pretty good if you've got a small garden, because you want to make it look bigger. And the other thing you could do, of course, is to cover up all of the border with plants, and that's what I'm doing now. So the existing fence is already painted black, although it's a bit algae-ish, but where the actual bamboos come out, of course, there's a big gap. So I'm going to cover it in this, the Fatsia Hedrahelix, and it's usually got an X before it, that means it's a cross, and the cross is between the Fatsia and the Hedrahelix, the ivy, which I think I've already said anyway. But anyway, this is pretty dry, so this probably wants to go in the ground. So I'm going to get that in the ground, and I know just the place for it. Now to complement the Fatsia Hedrahelix, I've also got a climbing plant, and this is a kiwi. This one's called Ken's Red. And let me just show you that one. So this is going to grow up the fence. I've already got a couple of kiwis. One of them died actually, so they're not totally frost hardy, but the other one stayed alive, so it's a bit of a gamble. I'm prepared to take that gamble because I want lots of these green leaves growing up the fence. So that's another one I'm going to put next to the Fatsia Hedrahelix. And I have these. And these are quite a special, nice plant. And these are going to complement the Fatsia Hedrahelix and also make it look greener and bushier. No more ants, please. I don't know what that's doing. There we go. So this little beauty is a Pseudopanax. And I've already got a Pseudopanax outside actually, it's a big thing. It's the Lesonii saber. This one here is the Gecko gold. And so let me bring it a bit closer. Again, it's got these palmate leaves, look like hands, I guess. And it's also got a bit of a gold tinge to the middle, or a very light green. And that's going to grow up quite big, I think. I think they get quite big. Let me just have a look, see what it says. 2 to 3 metres height and spread. So, it's from New Zealand. You can put it in sunshine, or you can put it in partial shade. And it's going to be a great addition to the border. Look at that beauty. That's going to make it look very jungly. So I'm happy about that. I mean, my Pseudopanax Lesonii saber, that one's got the long, thin leaves, and that's really good. And that's outside at the minute. That's probably about 3 metres as it is now. So if this one gets much the same, then marvellous. Now, the Lesonii saber has had a bit of frost damage, but it's quite a big plant and it survives, so all we're going to do is cut off the bits that are damaged and then it'll just grow back. So that's marvellous. And look at these little leaves, look. just coming out here, look. You can see the glint off that. That's beautiful. So I'm looking forward to getting these in the ground. And yeah, it's going to provide a great jungly border effect around the edge of the garden. So let's get all these things planted up. So we're just going to wrap up now, and that's the gecko that you're looking at, and of course the Fatsia Hedrahelix, which is going to grow into a much bigger bush than it is now, of course, and also the Ken's Red kiwi plant. Then on the right we've got the Pseudopanax Gecko Gold. Again, these are going to be much bigger, but for now they look pretty awesome as they are. So looking forward to seeing them grow. If you want to see more plants grow and see how my garden gets on, then don't forget to like or subscribe, if you like, that is. So all that's left to do is to take a bit of time, sit down, relax, and just have a look around the rest of the garden before we call it a day.